Okay, it says recording. That's excellent. Okay, so I think I'll just start out with a prayer, and then we'll get the show on road here. Dear Father, thank you for giving us the opportunity to meet again to discuss the Red Letter Challenge. This week we're talking about the week of giving. You gave us life. You gave us your Son, Jesus Christ, who died for us, and you give us our daily bread each and every day. We ask now that you help us to give, to show us how to give that is pleasing to you. In your name, Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Yeah. So we are talking about giving. Do you like to give? I have a whole bunch of questions here, so I don't have any answers, but I have a whole bunch of questions for you guys.
Awesome.
Do you like to give?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Yep.
Oh, where do you like to give?
Well, I give to a lot of causes like 40 Days of Life is called to anti-abortion groups. I give to the animals, I can't think of what it's called.
Yeah.
Humane Society.
Yeah.
And on occasion, I wounded warriors. Oh, yeah, I try to give something to those people too.
Yeah, so we had like the week before we had talked about the giving our time, our service. But this week we're talking about the giving our possessions. And just so we're all on the same page, all of our possessions, well, actually we don't even own them. They're owned, but everything we own belongs to God. And Elsa has joined us. Hi, Elsa.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Okay.
Yeah. So we're talking about the week of giving. And so I guess Jim likes to give to a lot of causes. We're talking now, this is financially we're talking. Well, not financially necessarily, because it's possessions that we have. So we could have clothes or food, or money. So I think what do? We besides church, we do Goodwill. That's our big one. Goodwill for clothes and stuff, and we used to do the polar plunge. That was another
Really?
fun.
That's
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
Oh, we didn't do it.
We didn't do it. We just contributed. We just
Oh, okay.
You jump in there.
Well, I did the polar plunge last year.
You
You
did.
did.
Good for you.
Ouch. Sounds
I know.
cold.
I see. Are you saying you didn't go back to do it this year?
They didn't have it this year, at least not in Forest Lake.
But you would do it again.
Yeah, it's a deal at our school. So all the
alright.
teachers really get into it.
So, all right. So anyway, so I have a cat here that's passing through.
Ah, kitty.
So this is a book we're working on. And if you turn to page 165, right there, down in the lower right, it says, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." And that is Paul quoting Jesus. But the quote is not found in the Gospels. So he must have been passed down verbally or whatever to. But why would you think it's more blessed to give than receive?
You receive, then you might owe him something.
Yeah. So for us to give, there has to be a receiver, right? So is it okay to receive then?
I'll bless you by having you all give to me.
Oh.
No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah. So you're gonna give us the opportunity to
Right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, that's what my point was, is that, we do need to receive also, like we receive the gift of God, of Jesus Christ from God. So, what would you feel like if we didn't accept that gift? And if you gave something to somebody, even if it's just like compliment, you would want them to accept that gift. Am I right? Am I on the right track here? So
I gave somebody a Christmas present once and they gave it back to me.
yeah, how did that make you
no.
feel?
And they told me they'd never use it.
Oh no.
So go give it to somebody who's going to use it. That was the last time I bought that person a present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose.
And I like to give because it gives me it just I see a need, and so then I want to help.
Right.
So I think a lot of times I think of it as a helping thing, not a giving thing. I want to help this person,
Well, I need to buy a car.
Well, I'm not going to help you.
Oh, okay. See? Look how quick they turn.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a car. So there you go.
So I guess, is it more blessed to give? Why is giving more than receiving? If it takes a receiver.
I
don't
always
know.
feel better at Christmas time when I give gifts. I would rather give gifts to people than get them. Honestly, I would. I just enjoy
Yeah.
seeing the look on their face.
Yeah, and I think that's what our author said too. Is when he was a kid, he loved to get presents. Yeah, I guess I'm the same way. But yeah, I guess you grow up and you find more enjoyment in giving. So that's kind of a nice built-in system for all of us to have that. The author on page 197 said, when you have a good gift for someone, you can't wait to give it away. Brainwaves are more excited when we give. We all have been given the most amazing gift there is, and we get to help give it to someone else, and we should be pretty excited about that. So I think it ends up being an attitude more than, or a feeling or emotional thing, than just monetarily. So then page 166, the next page, up in the upper right hand corner, they got Luke 6:35. Says, lend expecting nothing in return. So has anybody ever lend to someone? I guess let me tell you what the definition of lend is according to Oxford definition here. It's to grant to someone the use of something on the understanding that it shall be returned. So Luke is saying, or Jesus is saying in Luke, lend expecting nothing in return, but that kind of goes against the definition there of what lending is.
Just give it away. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, it's more, it's giving. It would be, the definition is more giving. So but when when you lend something like your neighbor to your neighbor or whatever, you say, like they come over and want to borrow a ladder. You lend them that ladder, you have an expectation that it would be returned, but he's saying don't expect it. So, and that, I mean, if my neighbor came and borrowed my ladder, I'd wonder about my neighbor if he didn't bring it back. But I think the point is that if you don't expect it to be returned, you're not going to be disappointed. I mean, because I've known friends, like I've given them money and then I never see them again, so, but if I said, if I gave them money and I didn't expect it back or just gave it to them, then they'd probably come around somewhere. I don't know. So, yeah. So my Bible says, don't, when we're reading that verse, it doesn't say expect nothing in return. It says, don't be concerned that they may not repay. So I think the definition of lend is, with the understanding that they'll return it, and not expecting it to be returned can go hand in hand. It can happen at the same time. So, you can give it to them without, with the expectation. They expect to bring it back, whatever. But anyways, I'm beating a dead horse here. So, I got a quote here from Shakespeare's Hamlet. Maybe Dale, you know something about that. Been in drama, right?
Not for a long time, but
so this quote is, you guys know, why I know Dale was in drama? Because we went to the same high school together.
long time ago.
Oh, wow.
We graduated in the same year. I won't say the year. Anyway, Shakespeare's Hamlet says, neither a borrower nor lender be. Maybe you remember that quote. For loan oft loses both itself and friend. And that's what I was saying about my friend who I borrowed money to. It's like, when you do that, you may lose your money and a friend because they won't show up because they know they owe you money. But God or Jesus is saying, just just give it to them. Just don't expect them to return it. So I already covered the fact that who really owns whatever it is we're giving, and then what does that I won't read that. So we'll just go right on to page 167. That's the author says, we worship a God who gave up his most prized possession for us. And the question is, what does he want in return? And, so let's say God gives up his son. And what does he expect from us in return? Does he expect loyalty? Obedience? Does he expect us to live a sin-free life?
Probably expects us to do good.
Yeah, do good. That's.
I think he expects nothing. But I mean, he would like that. It's the same thing with the ladder or whatever. I expect nothing, but I would like it if you return it. But I think it's the same way with God. It's like, there's no strings attached to this Jesus Christ thing. It's your gift. You accept it, it's yours. There are no strings attached. But as you see with the laws and everything else, it's that he does want you to live a sin-free life.
As God
Also-
said, Jesus knowing that even after his death and resurrection, we would fail him.
What's that?
He knew that, that even after his death and
Yeah.
resurrection, we would fail him. He
Yeah,
knew that.
yeah. So we don't, okay, the author continues here. We don't give because we have to. We give because we want to be like Jesus, expecting nothing in return. So we already decided that we were gonna all borrow or lend to Dale $10 each, right? Or what was it? $50? I don't know.
No,
So we would do that. We would do that for you.
thank you. I don't need it. I'm good right
Well,
now.
I would anyways. Would you lend to family members?
Sometimes that's the worst. I did that with my youngest daughter and ended up losing a whole lot of money between her and her husband.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You will learn, grasshopper.
Yes. Yeah, they can disappoint. But that's what I think why we don't want to expect anything in return, is they will disappoint. Kids, they know. How about, would you lend to your enemies?
That's a hard one.
It is.
I got a Bible here. Because that's what they were talking about. That red letter phrase up there that was on page 167 or whatever it was. Lend expecting nothing in return. Let me read you the whole verse here, starting with 27. But if you are willing to listen, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Pray for the happiness of those who curse you. Pray for those who hurt you. If someone slaps you on the cheek, turn the other cheek. If someone demands a coat, offer your shirt also. Give what you have to anyone who asks for it. And when things are taken away from you, don't try to get them back. Do for others as you would like them to do for you. Do you think you deserve credit merely for loving those who love you? Even the sinners do that. And if you do good only to those who do good to you, is that so wonderful? Even sinners do that much. And if you lend money only to those who can repay you, what good is that? Even sinners will lend to their own kind for a full return. And this is where that verse begins here in 35. Love your enemies, do good to them, lend to them, and don't be concerned that they might not repay. That's where that verse came from. It's not about money. It's about loving your enemies. It's about loving or doing the right thing. It's all about attitude. I know what you're saying. I don't know if I would lend to my enemies, but that's, if you're going to read that verse, it's not about lending. It's really about your enemies and how you treat them. Something to ponder on. So yeah, my Bible there that I just read, that verse is translated as, don't be concerned that they may not repay. So I was just wondering if banks would qualify there.
I know.
Yeah.
You're only gonna get it if you can repay. That's part of the deal there. I should show them this Bible verse. Maybe I'll get along.
You wouldn't have a lot of banks in business anymore then.
Right. That's the problem. So yeah, so what we read in the Bible, it's hard to put that in today's life and say, let's operate under these principles. But that's what it says. Okay, so that was the day 27. Day 28, you gave me something to eat. And that was marked 6:37. And the point there was God can do a lot with little. And then on day 29, for I was hungry and you gave me food. And that's from Matthew 25:35. And that's where he says, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. So, Dale, you were talking about feed my starving children. That qualifies right there. We also have, where we bring the food shelter. Is that okay? You guys ever do that? Food shelf, yeah, food shelf.
I haven't done that. I the challenge this week about, going through your cupboards. The always thing about these challenges is that for me, they take more than one day to coordinate doing them. I don't know. I mean, I know that there's food shelters out there, but I don't know where the one closest to me is, or if we have a food shelter connection at church. I know there's the Sheridan story that Betsy Arnson works with, and it's like, should I avail myself of that? I just haven't had really that a challenge like that, and some of the other ones really motivate me to get more of an infrastructure in place. So if we say,
right,
hey, let's take some canned goods and bring them to the food shelf or a food pantry, I know where to go, and I know what to do, and I know who to contact and stuff. So that's probably that for me is the bigger challenge, is just getting all the mechanisms in place so I can just do it, just get it done.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do this at Eastern Heights, but they used to just have a table in the narthex, and any food that was put there, they would just bring to Merritt Community Center. They had a food shelf there, and that Dale is connected to Harding High School. They built a new Merrick Center there, so you could go there. We have I don't know in your neighborhood, but every year our post delivery, they come by and pick up food once a year for some kind of drive. Postal union workers.
Leave a bag in the mailbox. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's
So
Merrick Center?
yeah.
But-
What's that?
What's the Merrick Center?
Merrick Food Shelf, Merrick Food Center or whatever. They.
Oh, okay.
Off of
Yeah.
94 and I don't remember the cross street, but
So they're like
It's
a
great.
food pantry?
well, it's more of a I was going to the Merrick Food Center to 3M had a thing where we would go there and we'd rake leaves for the day. So they coordinated all that and told us where to go and which people were involved in that. And then the next time we would go, and it would be we shoveled driveways in the wintertime to take care of the older people. And another time we'd go over to somebody's house and we painted and did yard maintenance and stuff like that. So it's more than just a food shelf. It's
Interesting.
more helping the whole community. It's also a place where I think seniors go, for activities during the day.
Okay.
So it's more like a school type. It's a big building, so it can hold a lot of people and do that kind of thing. So they're involved in lots of stuff other than food, just food. Yeah.
Second Harvest is another good place.
Oh, sure.
To donate.
Yeah, 36 and
There's a frontage road just on 36.
and
there.
61.
Yeah.
There's that one. And then I found out that my neighbor was taking my neighbor's food to the North St. Paul food shelter. And I didn't know there was one in North St. Paul. So I'm going to have to go look that up.
There you go. I heard that the best thing you can do for those food shelf places is give them cash, or
Yeah.
because they can buy in bulk at a discount price or whatever, and they buy what they need,
Yeah.
where they need. So that's, but of course, if you got a lot of food laying around in your cupboards and you don't need it, it's a perfect opportunity to
As long as it's not old.
Right.
I've got cans of stuff that some of it's got to be 10 years old. I can only imagine that should just be thrown out.
Yeah.
It's past expiration.
Yeah,
A long time.
long time.
I
Yeah.
looked up the
I'm a-
White Bear Lake because I live in White Bear Lake Food Shelter, and they said specifically on there they didn't want any canned vegetables, that they had more than enough of that.
Sure.
Really, yeah, yeah. Paper products seems to be a big hot item,
Oh,
for the
yeah.
journey home. We just filled up Tim's truck with paper
Yeah.
goods and reusable water bottles and some other stuff. So a lot of, we also had
Was that a good week?
What?
Were you involved in that for the week?
no,
Okay.
no.
Yeah,
I was
I don't-
busy giving my time and talents to other things called funeral,
Oh, that's right.
neighborhood.
Coleslaw.
Anyway, I
Yeah, so lot.
take care of this ringing.
I thought it was just in my ears.
Ringing in me.
Hello?
That's what I would do. Okay, so that was day 29.
Paul. We're at church.
Uh, Day 30. I was naked and you gave me clothing. That's Matthew 25:36. That's our big one. Goodwill, Salvation Army.
Old coats and for winter,
No,
coat drives.
but the problem with that for me is like, so when we give away clothes, that just creates an empty space in the closet, and it's like a vacuum. It's just new stuff.
Comes back.
So it could be a problem. I don't know. Yeah. So
Sometimes I find with giving away clothing, I worked at Goodwill for a while when I was a young kid, and tons and tons and tons of clothing would come in, and the sorter would go through, and if it had a stain on it, it went over this pile, and if it didn't have a stain, it went over that pile. They cleaned this and threw that, and I went, whoa, eye opener.
Oh,
So interesting. I don't know if they still do that. That was way back, we're talking 40 years ago, but it was.
when they had a stain, they would throw it away.
Yeah.
Or-
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sure if they are really worn and stuff, they're not gonna take, they
Right.
probably want something that still looks pretty
Pretty good. Mhm,
pretty good,
mhm.
gently
Yeah.
used.
This is-
Yeah, very gently used. Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought they took them and put them in bags and had them shredded up for shop rags or something like that, or recycled or something like.
And maybe
Maybe
they
they
do
don't.
now. I haven't been there to see that I haven't been behind the scenes for years, so I don't know if that's still. But as a young kid, I just remember that's the wildest thing I had ever seen. Here people are giving their old clothes, for people who are in need, and then.
Right.
And my first thought was, if I need clothes, I don't care if there's a stain on it or not. I'm not like I'm going to go meet the president or something, I just
Well,
want
I,
clothing,
I think they're trying to sell them though, and that makes a
Oh,
big
maybe
difference.
that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. You put a stained pair of pants on the shelf, it's just gonna sit there.
Yeah.
It's not doing anybody good. So
Oh,
But I
that's
also grew up in the era that, I wore a lot of hand-me-downs. My mother tore apart a winter coat and made me a winter coat from her coat. And it didn't matter in my household that I was the only girl. I still wore the boys t-shirts and shirts, and couldn't wear their pants because they have skinny legs and I don't. But yeah, so I wore a lot of hand-me-downs. They were stained. It didn't matter that they were male clothes or female clothes, you know, I just wore them because that's what we could afford. So in today's world, that's not so true.
Nope. I was in the same boat. I have an older brother, year and a half older, and I got all his hand-me-downs too. But I didn't really care. I was a boy. I mean, it's a bigger difference when it's a girl. It's like they want new stuff. Because I had two older sisters. That's all. They didn't want hand-me-downs. They want the newest, latest.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right, so I'd like to see day 31. This is a fun topic. Do not neglect the tithe. Matthew 23, verse 23. So what is a tithe?
10
10,
of your income.
10%?
Goods though, too, I guess.
So everything, so a tithe is 10% of what you bring in. And
I've
anything
never
above that.
heard a hard and fast rule on that with the 10%. What do you draw that as, net income or gross?
Yeah, I've heard that argument too. But I think when you listen to this Bible verse, it's the only Bible verse where Jesus actually mentions the word tithe. He said, you are careful to, and here he's talking about the Pharisees again, or he says, you are careful to tithe even the tiniest parts of your income, but you ignore the important things of the law, justice, mercy, and faith. You should tithe, yes, but you should not leave undone the more important things. So when we're talking about tithing, net or gross, well, I don't think that's really important. I think the important thing is justice, mercy, faith. You know what I mean? Whatever you, I wouldn't sit there and dwell on that subject as far as whether it's, you know, and I think it's more about attitude. It's you know, you want to get to the point where you want to give, you know, your tithe. I don't think a lot of people tithe today. In fact, if you believe what they say on the internet, so you don't need to feel guilty about tithing, because per the internet, less than 0.25% of Christians tithe. Christians on average give 2.5% of their income, and they didn't say whether that was of the net or gross. But when I had that discussion, like, oh, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago with the pastor, it was gross. It made a point that that's what it was. But I think, again, he was trying to say, oh, don't worry about it. You know, that's not the important thing, because
Well, I had an experience specifically, like I was jobless at the point. I'd moved back from Chicago, was in a really bad spot because like, you know, like had used up all my money, and I was not in a good spot in Chicago. I was not able to afford to live there, and I'd been on food stamps and all that. Come back home looking for a church, go to a church service. And I didn't, after the sermon was done, I got up and left. I didn't even stay for the second round of songs, because the entire sermon was on giving your 10%. It had to be your 10%. And it was very specific about the 10%, in addition to whatever you gave to normal charities. And then he's going in about how him and his wife had financial problems, and they still were finding a way to give their 10%. And it was all kind of couched into, and here's the church budget. So
Yeah.
Me, as being one of those people, like, I'm jobless, I have no income. Where's my 10% going to come from, guys? You know, I found it pretty upsetting. And I was very depressed at the time too. So like, I was not a place I was wanting to come back to. When
Right.
when you're selling it like that.
Right.
10% of nothing is still nothing.
Yes,
There you go. Well,
I guess I've met my tithe then. Yeah.
there you
You
go.
did a good job.
But yeah, that is, I'm thinking that is the wrong approach too. I'm just my opinion. It's probably not. I look at this author and he says for the challenge to tithe for 6 months. Well, it's a little easier said than done. So I was thinking of a different way to approach this is, yes, you should tithe. Kind of like what Jesus said. Yes, you should tithe. Don't go all helter-skelter on or whatever. I mean, don't concern yourself too much about it. But it's almost like you open up your checking account or you look at your budget and there's no room to increase your giving. You know, you've already committed everything to somebody else, your car,
Yeah.
your rent, whatever. You've already committed it. So we have to find a way to get to that 10% in your budget. It's going to take time, right? And when you start your 401k at work, you don't, most people just don't go out. You should be saving 15% of your income to 401k for your retirement. That's what they say. But a lot of people just cannot do that, especially somebody starting a new job. So what they usually do is they start out at like 3%. Okay. I just read that on the internet, that was the average is 2.5%. So wherever you're at, you can start. And then if you have that goal in mind, you can annually just increase that until you get to your 10%. So if it's 1% of your income right now, when you get a raise next year, make it 2%. I don't know, or if you get more income or whatever. And then eventually you'll get there at 10%. I don't think it's very feasible to just jump in and start, because I know this because I did it. I tried to tithe. This was probably 30 years ago. And I was, I had kids. Let's just say I got myself in some trouble. I don't know if it's, they said, the one Bible verse there says, "Trust me on this." That's an Old Testament. I don't know if I did something wrong or whatever, but I just had to stop because I just couldn't do it. But not that I think now I'm probably in a better position or whatever. I would like to do that. And it's just an attitude. It's not because they need it, they have to have it, or whatever. Like every one of our members will be tithing type of thing. It's not like that at all. It's because you want to do it, So, and again, when you look at the fact that all of this belongs to Jesus, to God anyways, it's his, you're just a steward. Where you put your money, that's up to you and your relationship with God, however you want to do it. It's my opinion.
I think our God is a forgiving God, and he knows that we all have challenges, and some challenges are worse in some years than they are in other years. And so God's not going to chastise you because, last year you gave X amount of dollars and this year you can't. He knows what you're going through. He knows your trials and tribulations. He knows that if you are a faithful follower, you will do what you need to do. And so I don't, when my husband died, it's not like you can plan that something's going to happen like that, it's whatever, but on the day that my husband died, 50% of my salary went away.
Yeah.
And 50% is a big chunk, you know, 50%, you know, it's just not coming in anymore. And so how do you rearrange all of your life, you know, because now all of a sudden you have to do it on 50% and still keep stability and keep, you know, trucking and moving forward. And so at that particular time, you know, I was like you, John, you know, we were tithing, but I needed that $100 or that $50 or that $25 so that I could put food on the table. I had people to feed, not only myself, but I had a little one. And so God knows our tribulations, and I don't think he's gonna, you know, hit us down and, you know, make it worser. I love that word. That's not a word, but I like that word. Worser. Worser. You know, so there you go. So so I think you give and give with an open heart, and you give because you want to and because, you know, Jesus gave to us.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm thinking it's the attitude. Yeah, you should give your tithe,
Yeah.
but let's be concerned about mercy and forgiveness and
Yeah.
all those other,
Yeah.
you know, those are more important. But
I
Yeah,
also think there's something very Lutheran about that, because I've been to enough non-denominational churches or evangelical churches that they won't say that, you know,
don't say
it is the 10%.
Yeah.
well,
For sure.
Mhm.
well, and maybe Pastor Benson would say that too. But this is my show. This is my this is my opinion. You know, I was 20 years ago, plus 20 plus years ago, I worked in finance in the church. I would do the counting, and I
Oh,
was actually on the board or whatever. And you know, I don't know what people gave or whatever, but you know, you see the individual checks come through and all that. And it's probably this true, but this internet is saying that, you know, less than 1/4% are tithing. Certainly not a lot of people. That was 20 years ago, whatever. But yeah, it's
Changed.
so if you are tithing, like, kudos to you, congrats. That's like awesome. You rock. But so okay, so where does tithe is mentioned in the Bible? It's first mentioned in Genesis, and it says Genesis 14, Abraham tithe, and then in Genesis 28, Jacob, and then Moses. There's like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's about 10 other times that I noted in here or whatever that's mentioned this is all in the Old Testament, including the one that's on page 188 in our book, Matthew 20. I'm sorry, Malachi 3:6. That's the one where it says, "Put me to the test," says the Lord of hosts. That's what I think a lot of those other churches are saying, that, you know, hey, test your Lord on this. You know, you give 10%, he'll see if he doesn't pour down good things to you. And I don't know, are there other strings attached to that or whatever? Because like I said, it didn't work for me. But all those that I just mentioned there were all the Old Testament. And a lot of people kind of tend to think, okay, well, there's a new law in town, there's a new sheriff in town. But I don't know if that makes a difference in your thinking, that all those were Old Testament. But the only time that it's mentioned in the New Testament, and this is on page 185 in your book, Matthew 23:23. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you tithe mint and dill and cumin, and neglected the weightier matters of the law. So again, and that's repeated, I think, in Luke too. They must have been at the same party or whatever. But Luke 11:42. But woe to you, Pharisees, for you tithe the mint and rue and every herb, and neglect justice and the love of God. So there's other times it's mentioned, or not tithing specifically, but giving in the New Testament. Mark 12, and you probably have heard this story before. This poor widow has put this is words of Jesus. This poor widow has put in more than all those who are contributing to the offering box, for they all contributed out of their abundance, but she out of her poverty has put in everything she had. And in Luke 18 also talks about the Pharisees. So time and time again, Jesus is really coming down hard on these Pharisees. That's the only time he really mentions tithing, is when he's criticizing these Pharisees and religious leaders. No offense, Pastor Benson, but I think he tithes, so he's probably okay on this. So really, Jesus' concern is more about attitude. Yes, you should tithe, but don't be you're not doing it the right way. That's what he was saying to the Pharisees. Whatever. How am I doing on time there, Linda? Let's say you're looking at the clock.
15 minutes.
2 Chronicle 31 says we should give our first fruits. The people of Israel gave an abundance of first fruits, grain, oil, wine, honey. And I think that's kind of the point I was making about like your 401k. You have that come out of your check right away. You don't miss it. And if you have your offerings, you can tithe, but offerings, tithing, if you can have those automated too, which we have that now at Eastern Heights, you just forget about it, just happens or whatever. So I would highly recommend, that's what we do, because we don't get down to Eastern Heights. We go to Zion up here in Anoka. But if you can sign up for that automated, does anybody do that now, or does anybody consider doing that?
Yep,
So
I do.
yeah, so
It's much easier. You just know that that's coming off the top right away.
right.
So it's
Yeah,
much easier. Don't have to write a check. It's already done. I know what it is,
Right.
get a statement at the
I
end
heard
of the
a
year.
lot of, or not a lot of people, but some people, I've heard the excuse that, well, I don't want to be in church and not put an envelope in there because, people think I don't give or whatever. But yeah, we shouldn't really care what other people think about us. That's not why we're giving. We're not being like the Pharisees, putting their loud coins in the plate or whatever, So anyways, yeah, Tim can help you out, setting you up if you haven't done that. It's a lot easier to make adjustments. Yeah, that I would, and then you can give more if you want. Nobody knows what you're giving other than maybe Tim, because probably he's doing the bookkeeping or whatever, but easy way to do it. So yeah, so in going along with that, putting your wanting to be able to put something in the plate. I got the Bible verse here, Matthew 6 verse 1-4. It says, beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them, for you will have no reward from your Father who is in heaven. Thus, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. That's not a problem for me. So that your giving may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. So, yeah, you don't have to make a big show about this, but you guys got to give. So we already talked about that, and so that's pretty much all I've got. You got anything? You good?
Nope. Good.
Anybody got anything else? Comments, questions, concerns? Not about money. How about fishing? Anybody going opening fishing this weekend?
For once, they didn't have fishing opener on Mother's Day.
I know. That's what I thought too. It's like, that's crazy. I don't know why that is. What happened? Maybe somebody complained. I don't know. Yeah. So when you guys go up to what is it, Brainerd? Do
Yeah,
you
Breezy Point. Mhm.
do you actually fish or do you just hang out?
We just kind of hang out. We're trying to figure out this golf thing. We're not quite sure about that yet. And there's
About the
boat
what thing?
rides, golfing.
Golf.
Mhm.
Oh,
There's 2 golf carts. The last time Jim and I golfed, we got on the green and won because we threw the ball
Every hole.
every hole, and then we putted in and we left. Best
Yeah.
best game of golf we ever had.
Drive up to each of the holes,
Yep, throw the ball.
throw the ball on the green and put it in.
Yeah, best game we ever had.
Yep.
So anyway, but yeah, we just we take a boat ride, you know, they've got the big boat and they have a tour, so you get to learn the history of the area. And then we're not that far from Brainerd, so we go down there a lot, but we're right on the golf course, so it's fun to watch the golfers. And my fun thing is sitting in there and relaxing and turning on the fire and read and enjoying. It's just quiet and away from the hustle and bustle up here. So,
yeah, absolutely. That sounds like my kind of fun.
oh yeah, yeah. Come and visit. It's wonderful.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, you go to Breezy Point?
Yeah,
Okay,
we own
yeah.
we own a week up there in a condo.
Okay, yeah, my mom has had conferences up at Breezy Point
Yeah,
with
it's
her
wonderful.
work. I think
Yeah.
I was up there one weekend.